Another week. Here we go. So yeah, I'm going to try to change up my setup and see kind of what works. So we're at week 3, day 2. Basically what ended up happening was I had a conference that I had to sort of go to for work. And because of that, I was unable to, well, a lot of things kind of fell by the wayside. But the day 1 of this week with the overhead pressing, I was unable to do because the place I was at, they had like a gym, but it was not great. So they had, I think, like 8 pairs of dumbbells. 3 of those pairs were 15 pounds. So the highest they went to was like 50 pounds. So it was this very like small little place. And so, I felt like a bodybuilder. I don't know if you've ever seen, they kind of just walk in to wherever and just pick up the heaviest dumbbells they can and just kind of go for it. And that's what I ended up doing, and just, sort of ended up doing the sets, but with dumbbells, and capped out at 50 pounds for the overhead presses standing. Anyways, so we're here now, day 2. We're doing this top set for the deadlift. And there it goes. All right. So, yeah, I was tired definitely after said conference. Yeah. And it's weird, right? Now that I'm actually recording myself and looking back at it, like each and every lift basically, and have to comment on it, I am actually a little bit afraid of sort of not living up to the prior week. So, yeah, I mean, this was 285. We'll talk about the high rep situation later, but, again, changing up the grip here and there. But, yeah, overall, I think I'm happy with the 9, especially because, like, the last 5 days were, like, I did not sleep well. I did not eat well. Nothing, I guess, physically was good for me that happened those last few days. But, I was able to pull out 9, so I'm pretty happy with that. It is at least as good as what I ended up doing the week before. So check this out. Could I get something to help me deload the weights? I could, but I got these metal 10s, and guess what? That's what. They're useful for a lot of things, actually. I've been using them also to, those 10-pound plates, I've been using them to sort of stabilize my wooden plank when I do squats. It's not ideal, but it's something. And then, yeah, I think I noticed it while I was doing these deadlifts. I'm sort of thinking about it a little bit more now. And I feel like I want to use my legs more, like while I'm lifting, I'm like, I would like to use my legs because it's easier to do it that way. And I think before, my squat just wasn't that great. But now that those numbers are kind of getting up and up, it feels easier to do these deadlifts if I lower my hips a little bit more in the start and then use my legs a little bit more coming up, as opposed to just kind of arching over my back a little more. And then with these hanging straight leg raises, I actually got like a forearm pump, sort of, like when you go bouldering or rock climbing. So obviously not that intense, but it still felt pretty good. So, all right. Yeah. It does feel like I'm afraid to add a lot of weight to my 1 rep maxes. So, every month I'll restart the program and I'll put in a new 1 rep max, and it's definitely getting higher and higher, but I'll put in like 95% of my 1 rep max or 90% of my 1RM. And the way I'm using it is I'm using, I think, that strength level calculator online. And I think even that calculator on its own is pretty conservative in how it does the estimates. A lot of problems, right, with all of this, a lot of variables. But at the end of the day, because it's such high reps, it's not that accurate. Because I'm using a calculator, not that accurate. So there's different coefficients that you can also use to kind of estimate your maxes. Maybe I'll try that. But in any case, it is fun to constantly be like adding to progress, I guess, every week. And I guess a part of me is sort of afraid once we do hit that wall of, all right, here's your max, adding like 3-4 pounds here or there after a month, that's going to get a little bit depressing. But I think not because it's depressing to only add that much, but because you kind of see what your limit is. And, not only anybody really wants to do that. But anyways, here we are, 150 by 9. So total volume wise, this is probably the most I've ever done. I think I've done like maybe 135 by 13 once. So I guess that might be more, but I've probably never done anything like over 5 reps with this weight before. So some kind of PR for sure. Yeah. And again, I keep having this issue with this bench where when I go down, it feels like my scapula, part of it's either left or the right side, is like hanging off the bench. And it just makes it awkward to kind of press up. I don't really notice it as much on these heavier sets, but when I do the more volume work, I notice it, and it gets kind of annoying. And so, yeah, I think I've told myself if I ever get to 225, like for a single, I will allow myself to buy a new bench. So that's kind of what I'm aiming for. And yeah, I wrote this down on here. I think this week, more than most weeks, I would go into basically each of these sessions and I just kind of felt like, oh man, I don't know how it's going to go. Or, I wasn't really confident that I'd be able to do whatever I needed to do. But that's how I felt. But in the back of my mind, I kind of knew, hey, you felt this before last week and you ended up doing fine. So, it's strange. It's not necessarily what you feel. It's, it's just kind of your training and stuff. You'll do it. I don't know exactly what I mean by that, but I guess don't let your feelings dictate whether or not you work out or how hard you try. Obviously, don't hurt yourself, but yeah, I was impressed by that. So these pull-ups, I'm just trying to get to 10, right, for five sets. And I take crazy long breaks between each of these. Again, another benefit of working out from home. There's no way I could do that in the gym. But, I am happy with the progress. Feels like a little slow going with this, though. Yeah. I guess the one problem with not actually putting my 1 rep max higher, like, it's okay. I think if I, do 285 by 9 or whatever that was for the deadlift, like, that's okay, right? The problem, I think, is that the 5 sets that I do for 10, those are supposed to be at 50% of your 1RM, and, you're kind of shortchanging yourself if you do all that volume, but at like 35, 40% of your 1RM. So, I kind of know that. So I'm not going to switch things, mid program, but at least what I try to do is sort of have more power on the way up. And that way, at least there's some kind of, at least I'm pushing myself in some way. All right. And then, yeah, I need to make a platform. I'll say my feet are probably where I want them for the squat. I would like maybe for them to be an inch apart more. I have a 2x4 in there that I'm kind of retaining with those 10-pound plates, which it's kind of perfect. But yeah, there were so many problems with this top set that I just did, by the way. I feel like I was angled a little bit, like rotated to my right. And yeah, the bar was like a little bit too low on my back for a second. Yeah. So this is 185 pounds. I ended up doing 10. Despite everything I just said, I got 10. That is pretty great. Like, I'm pretty happy with that. That puts my 1 rep max like 247 or something. I mean, it depends on how you calculate it, or 260. And so, yeah, I am very happy with that. If I can actually hit that, I'll be ecstatic. And I think I might go ahead and try to just, without like a peak week or anything, go for it next week. So we'll see. I think the squat day is definitely the most exciting day for me with these workouts, because I think I've placed a lot of emphasis on squatting and the numbers are still going up. And yeah, I mean, it's the motivation's still there, and I don't know, hopefully I can get it higher and higher. Man. Yeah, just eking out those last few reps. It's a long break. Yeah, and up. Nice. Yeah. So next up were straight leg raises. Finally making some progress on those two. Did 11 this time instead of 10. And then at the top, I noticed this during my deadlifting, the 285. The bar kind of goes down a little bit and more, gets into where my fingers are. So it doesn't feel like I'm, grabbing it like this, but maybe like this. And it's okay, right? I can still lift the weight, but I think for the future, I would probably like to make sure that grip is strong. So for the straight leg raises that are coming up, yeah, I think I just gripped a little bit harder and I tried to make sure that it stayed that way. So at least I can practice getting that stronger. Anyways, that was the week. Overall, I'm pretty happy. Next time is a week 3. Luckily, some of these next upcoming workouts are on days that I'm off. So at least the sleep should be there. So I'm really hoping to kind of do as well as I can, see what those new maxes are or whatever. And then hopefully the next month we can really push it. And I think it's going to be a lot harder for me. In addition, I think I weigh like 174 right now, 175. So I think I'm going to try to not gain any more weight until the end of October. Yeah, song of the week. I don't know how weird to get with these recommendations, but I guess there's a song called Rose Quartz. You've probably heard it at a Chipotle or something by Toro y Moi. And so, that's a nice one to, I think, hit some big weights to, like 30% through the song. Anyways, I'll see you guys next time. Keep it up. Believe in yourselves. Goodbye.